Just use it.
That's all right. It's 3:30 and I'd like to call the courts and public safety to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Derazinski?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Here.
Commissioner Nash?
Here.
Commissioner Sabo?
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Here.
Commissioner Cross?
Here. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of January 8th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, concerns, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now it's time for public comment on an agenda item. Anybody in the audience like to comment on an agenda item? Please come forward, state your name, and say your piece. Seeing none, we'll move on to items consideration. First item on the items of consideration, CPS 13/02-01 from Circuit Court, authorized Circuit Court to enter contract with Jennifer Hillard.
So moved.
Second. Any questions on? Oop.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is a correction on page 2, paragraph 7. There's a typographical error there, a couple of them. Sorry.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
I did have a question on that. It said here that this was gonna be, I'm trying to look and see if I'm on the right one. Is this the one that has the court referee?
Family court referee.
Family court referee. I'd like to know what that is.
Eric Stevens, the Circuit Court Administrator. Commissioner Hughes, family court referee, the chief judge can appoint an attorney to handle domestic relations matters. And what this position is, basically, I used to describe myself when I was a full-time referee as a sub-judge. I got to do things the judge didn't want to do at half the pay. So what the judge can basically do is any family court-related matter is they can assign an attorney who's been appointed as a referee to handle that matter. This individual, Jennifer Hillen, will be doing primarily, all she'll be doing is child support modifications. So if someone wants to reduce or increase the child support amount in a case, they file a motion. Ms. Hillen will actually hear that case. So.
I guess along with that, what I kind of wondered was, she's gonna work 20 hours a week and make $30,000 a year. And on the next one, we have a family court attorney that's gonna work full-time and make $20,000 a year. I kind of wondered what the explanation for that
The
was.
next one with, which is the motion to do a, say, family court contract attorney, conflict attorney. That means that person's not gonna work full-time. What they're going to do is they're going to cover any conflicts that may arise in a juvenile delinquency or neglect abuse case. So therefore, they're paid lower than the regular contract attorneys, which are paid at $47,500 a year for what they do almost full-time. So $20,000 is to cover the conflicts that arise. A lot of times attorneys have conflicts because they've been involved in a case or represented a party before, and with our team structure, it's really hard then to provide that conflict coverage.
Okay,
This person will be able to be appointed in those cases so that it helps with the scheduling and case flow.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Yes, Eric, can you tell us about how many hours that part-time person would spend? Because it doesn't sound like either we're not getting a lot or it's a little bit of money.
Yeah, it's, I don't know the exact numbers on the conflicts, but we probably have 2 or 3 a week conflicts in which to be assigned to those cases. The 20,000, like I said, the full-time, we have a full-time caseload get paid at $47,500 per year. The 20,000 they're going to be doing, and those individuals, for example, let me try to explain this a little better. Currently, right now, you have 2 teams of family court contract attorneys. There's 3 of them that are assigned to one team that handle neglect abuse cases. 3 that are assigned to a second team that handle neglect abuse cases. And then you have 2 full-time contract attorneys that handle delinquency cases per those teams. But the attorneys, the full-time ones, only handle specific cases assigned to a judge. This conflict attorney will have to go to different, they'll have to handle delinquency, neglect, abuse, and in front of all the judges. So their schedule's gonna be a little different, but they're not gonna have nearly the caseload as the full-time. Like I said, there's probably 2 to 3 a week that they may get either delinquency or neglect abuse case, compared to the full-time that are getting, they could get 10 a week added to their docket or their caseload, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Skolnick?
Just curious, the referee, does the referee's decision have to go to the judge?
It does if a party objects to it. A referee cannot enter an order. What they do is they issue a recommendation. That recommendation is prepared in writing and mailed out to both parties. Both parties then have 21 days to file an objection. If they file an objection, they get a brand new hearing in front of the assigned family court judge assigned to that case. If no one objects within the 21 days, then the recommendation goes up to the judge and is signed into an order. But no, a family court referee, either on the delinquency, neglect, abuse, or domestic relations side, does not have the ability to enter an order. They just give recommendations to the court.
Any other questions? Commissioner Derzinski?
Hey, the general fund implication of this has been budgeted, and I'm just wondering how much of this money is coming from the general fund or other sources of revenue?
It has been budgeted.
I see that. We've kept it, I mean, we're already a month into it, so has a positive impact on the budget thus far.
Both of these positions will not increase the general fund at all. What we did when my position, when I took over back, it was probably the middle of October, some of the duties that I do, we were able to tap into a revenue source. And also, back on December 20th, when the board approved putting out for this contract, there was the court reporter that was assigned to Judge Graves that's now working for Judge Smedley. Some of her duties have changed because of the type of cases that she records for. She records for half-time child support stuff, and so we were able to tap into another revenue source to pay for both of these positions. So there's a zero impact to the general fund because of those funding transfers for both of those, my position as well as the court reporters.
Excellent. Our hiring freeze, that is since then, we're still into that? We're stopped with this budget? I fully support this, don't get me wrong. These are some general questions that I couldn't get from the meeting. But at one time, we had implemented a hiring freeze sometime ago.
There is a hiring freeze, and all positions that, there are exempt positions that are direct service positions that are exempt from the hiring freeze, but the hiring freeze does no longer come to the County Board of Commissioners. The requests come to the, appeals are sent to the county administrator, and the county administrator works with the department directors, elected officials, and court administrators.
Glad you do of that. Thank you. Thank you, and I surely don't oppose this.
Oh, no, I understand, Commissioner.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Nash? Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if you knew how many cases we had on the fiscal year?
Oh, there's, on the delinquency side of things, we probably have about 350 open delinquent cases per year. But there's probably about, anywhere from, I can get you the exact number, Commissioner Nash, but it's about 1,300 to 1,500 petitions that are filed on the delinquency side of things. Neglect abuse, I think, is around 400 or 500 a year that are filed. And it's really the neglect abuse side of things that we've seen a 70% increase in the last year. That's when DHS files a petition to have children get involved with the court or have them removed from their homes. That's where we've seen the biggest increase. So. And that's partially why we're asking for the contract or the part-time referee position. because we currently have 2 full-time family court referees that handle both domestic relations, which is the child support, as well as some neglect, abuse, and some delinquency cases. Their docket's completely full. So what we did with this position, if it's approved, Ms. Hillen will be taking some of that child support motions away from the full-time referees who have been doing it for quite a while now, so that they can help absorb part of the 70% increase in neglect abuse cases. So that was the rationale behind creating this entire position, so.
Go ahead.
Having been a teacher with him, how many of these referrals come from the school districts or teachers to these people, or most of those?
Yeah, I know the Department of Human Services gets a lot of referrals because as you know, teachers are mandated reporters. They
Yeah.
have to.
But
We
they
also-
come from other sources also?
Yeah, they get them from anywhere. In fact, my staff, the front of the court employees are now mandated reporters. So if we suspect any type of child abuse, we are by law have to make a referral to the Department of Human Services. And let me tell you, we get a lot of allegations that come through the front of the court by a custodial parent or non-custodial parent. Now we have to report those. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have to report it. There's a lot of people that do report allegations of child abuse. One of the other things that's changed is the local DHS used to have control over when to open a case and when not to. Now the state of Michigan has gone to a call center in Grand Rapids. That was implemented this last year. So anyone making a neglect abuse referral now calls Grand Rapids, and they open a case and assign it to a local protective services worker. So I think that's part of the 70% increase that we've seen.
I'm sorry to belabor this, but it surely is interesting. How many of those people do we have working, the protective service people here in the county?
I don't know the exact number, but I know that they've, over the last year, they've hired quite a few protective services and foster care workers because they, state of Michigan got sued by Children's Rights Group, and part of the consent decree was that they had to really reduce their caseloads, and they've hired, I will say, between 80 and 100 employees within the last year and a half, both direct line protective services workers, foster care workers, as well as supervisors. So
I know.
it does.
is,
It's,
yeah.
it's almost a sad statement on our, and it's statewide. It's not just our community. It's happening all over the state. So.
And I'll quit after this question,
Okay.
please. Socioeconomic lines for these kids crosses, it doesn't. I know child abuse generally doesn't.
It crosses, but poverty plays, I think, a big role in these cases. It's hard for children to be paying attention in school. It's hard for children to behave properly when they haven't eaten in 2 or 3 days. A lot of them come from single-parent homes. I've always looked at juvenile delinquency is when a kid commits a crime, it's not because the kid's bad or evil, it's because it's a symptom of their environment. And we're seeing more and more of that. You got me started, Commissioner. I keep talking about this. This truly is my
Smack
passion.
the parents, not the
It
kids.
truly is my passion. When I started here in the mid-90s, working in the prosecutor's office, handling all their delinquency and neglect abuse cases, we had true criminals here in Muskegon County. I mean, we had carjacking them, we had crack cocaine, we had, a lot of guns and shooting. I mean, we had true criminals that I saw in the work that I did. Nowadays, it's changed. We have kids who they suffer from mental illness, their behavioral issues in schools, their behavioral problems at home. We're seeing a lot more autistic kids. And so, the population has really changed to that behavioral type of child now, not the true criminal, but behavioral issues. And let me tell you, in some ways, it's easier dealing with a true criminal than it is the behavioral issues, because it does take community. It takes community mental health, it takes the health department, it takes the schools, it takes everyone coming around these kids and these families to try to make it successful. And that, it takes a lot of time and effort to do. So.
Commissioner Skolnick?
You know, I just wanted to comment because I'm the liaison to the Department of Human Services Board, but you know, at the last meeting, we discussed, in fact, I asked how many employees there were there now, and I think there's about 270. There used to be around 200. And I know one of the things that got changed in the last year, and every employee got iPhones so they could more easily be contacted and do things immediately instead of waiting until they get back to their desk and check their email. So that lawsuit, I think, this was a direct result of that lawsuit.
And what we do is once a month, at least, to meet with Jane Johnson, Julia Rupp from Mental Health is there, we invite the schools in. It's our enhanced partnership group that really tries to take a holistic look and systems of care look at these kids and families. Because one agency such as mine or DHS, you can't do it alone. We need to partner more. We need to try to help these families wrap around them so that they can get the help that they need so these kids can be successful. So.
All right, thanks. With that, hearing the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. CPS 13/02-02, Circuit Court, authorized Circuit Court to enter a contract with Brenda Spader.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments? Pretty much already answered all of it, I think. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. CPS 13/02-03 from the prosecutor's office.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. CPS 13/02-04 from the sheriff's office. Emergency services to accept the 2011-2012.
Moved.
Second.
Any questions, concerns?
I think
Go ahead.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Well, this doesn't concern this item here, but I think at the last board meeting, we asked for Mr. Stout to come and make a presentation on those conflict of interest. So I just wanted to know where we stand on that and when will we be getting that information to us, because there was information in the paper yesterday.
Dan Stout, Sheriff's Department. I'm happy to report that no county employee is involved in this except for my involvement as being the chair of the Homeland Security Committee for the 13 counties. Right now, we don't have any definite answers. We have a meeting scheduled in Lansing on March 8th, down in Lansing to meet with the audit department down there and find out exactly what the allegations are. What was sent was just a 2-page letter saying that the region, we had these conflict of interest, dual compensation. They didn't spell it out, how, when, where. But also I want to emphasize that every training, every bit of equipment, every exercise, every instructor was approved prior by the state of Michigan, Homeland Security Division, before we did it. The setup is, of course, the federal government gives us Homeland Security money through the state of Michigan. The federal government puts on their rules, the state of Michigan puts on their rules. Then it comes to the region, we put on our rules and assessments on those projects, exercise, and training, and they have to meet all three. And before we do anything, we do a project justification, which describes what we're going to do. We send that into the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan approves that. We then do allowable cost justification, saying how much it's going to cost, when we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it. That is sent into the state of Michigan, and then it is okayed. Then we go ahead and do this training, do this these exercises, and buy this equipment. So if there's any conflict that we've done anything wrong in the region, when I say we, who at the state level would be my question is, has failed there. So those are, this is all preliminary, as I said in the paper. There's a lot of questions to be answered, and we'll get at the bottom of it. I foresee this will go on for months. This is not gonna be something that's gonna be settled right away.
You will keep us updated on what's going on.
I will do that through the administrator. I put out a monthly report. I will, if there's anything that is really out of the ordinary, of course, I will go immediately to the administrator so she can pass that on to each and every one of you.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Dan, when I read the article, I scanned it first really quick to see if there's anybody I knew in there from the county, because that was, I'm sure we all did, but it appears it was over the trainers being paid to do the training, even though they were employees on somebody else's payroll, but if they took leave or used vacation time to do it, then that made it okay?
Well, there's a couple of different things the state is saying. One, about halfway through these grants, they came down with a rule that you cannot train your own people. In other words, if I was getting extra money for training people at the sheriff's department, I could not train them under the new rules that they came down. That was one of the rules. And from my understanding is, they all of a sudden told us about these rules and then made it retroactive for all 3 grants. So that was one of them. Another one, they're saying that people were working their regular hours and getting paid, which I doubt that happened. I mean, you know, I wasn't there, but I can't see an organization letting somebody go, you know, work their regular hours while they're getting paid. I mean, I would equate that to a snowplow driver using a snowplow and doing private lots when they're getting paid by their entity. But that's the other thing they're alleging.
That was the part I read, so that's one of the, okay.
Right, so I mean, I just, you know, it's preliminary. I just can't believe that any of this stuff will be substantiated, but, you know, it will come out in the wash eventually.
Commissioner Dudzinski?
Dan, I heard about this maybe 3 months ago, and when I first heard about it, your name came up as being the first person to question the practice.
I questioned
Yeah,
that
I mean, it was.
before.
Yeah, and I admire you for that.
That was several years ago. You know, we had people that were sitting on the training committee that were trainers, and I brought that up and I said, you know, you're getting compensation, this might not be a good thing to do.
And at the time, it was legal, but you were warning them back then.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
And hey, I give courses. I don't get it, I figure the taxpayers paid me to go to school, get this knowledge, and that's why I never seek any reimbursement. I figured, hey, the taxpayers have already invested their money, and that's the way it should be, but.
Great. Commissioner Hughes?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for your explanation, it was very good. But I just wondered this says 2011, 2012, is this retroactive, or is this something we've already actually spent?
With the Homeland Security grants, it is the year that they're passed in Congress. So these grants are being run concurrently. They're 2 separate grants, but they're being run at the same time. So we have 2 different sets of rules, assessments, and investments that we have to look at. Also, I want to point out at the 2012 grant, for the first time since the 2005 grant came out, Muskegon County is being allocated about $69,000. We have to sit down and see how we can spend that money, which is best for Muskegon County, but we have a bunch of hoops that we have to follow through. We have to follow the federal government guidelines, the state government guidelines, and we also have to tie it into regional projects. So it's not that we can just take this money and say, oh, we need this, or we want to do that. We have to tie this in. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. So, and we're going to be working on that later on in the month here.
Dan, any of these future dollars, especially I think we ordered this $260,000 boat, I think that's separate. None of this is jeopardized.
No, that's a different grant altogether.
Okay, but nothing that we are doing or have ordered or not have paid for jeopardized due to
No.
this. Okay, thank you.
That's one thing I can say, and I've talked to other people from the other counties. From the get-go, Muskegon County has been above the board on everything that we've done here, and I mean, as you can see, the audits have come through, and our name hasn't been mentioned at all.
Good work.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Nash?
On that contract, that political subcommittee, is that Muskegon County?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The other thing I was gonna ask too is is this a 100% grant? Is this matching? Doesn't say whether it's budgeted or not budgeted or
It's a 100%. It shouldn't,
100%.
this will not cost,
no matching dollars?
it will not cost the county anything except for my time.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Dan, it's federal money, goes down to the state. What's the state pick out of this? I mean, if there's $1 million coming down, they get 10-15% of it before it even gets to you.
As a general rule, they take 20% off the top of every grant that comes through.
Oh, thanks. You're a depressing meeting today.
Thank you. Hearing the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. CPS 13/02-05 from the Sheriff's Office. Approve the amendment to the strategic traffic.
So moved.
Thanks.
Support.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, motion carries. At this time is the time set aside for old business. Anybody got any old business? Seeing none, any new business? Any public comment on a new topic? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
All in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.